President Obama, are you listening?
So from the Tea Party movement to Scott Brown, are Americans trying to tell Washington they are fed up with dysfunction and overspending? John Harwood joins us from the CPAC convention. That's the Conservative Political Action Convention in Washington, D.C. Hello, John.
Hey, Larry, you know, certainly some people are trying to tell Washington that, and that's one of the problems facing Barack Obama and the Democrats is the rising energy from conservatives in this midterm election year. We've heard this morning from Stephen Baldwin, the brother of Alec Baldwin, the actor, a little Hollywood action there. Marco Rubio, who's challenging from the right Charlie Crist, the popular governor of Florida, and has a good chance, if you believe the polls, of knocking him off. We also heard from Jim DeMint, the conservative from South Carolina, who's part of the gaining vanguard within the Republican caucus, saying Democrats have simply gone too far. Take a listen.
The Democrats' arrogance and audacious power grabs have made Americans stand up and say enough is enough. We now see all too clearly that the hope and change the Democrats had in mind was nothing more than a retread of the failed and discredited socialist policies that have been the enemy of freedom for centuries all over the world. Young people in America.
Now, of course, President Obama, who was the candidate of hope and change that Jim DeMint referred to, is trying a counterattack, and you're seeing a rising level of communication from the White House defending the stimulus package, defending the steps they took to stabilize the financial system, and how the American public sifts those competing arguments, Larry, is going to be part of the story of the 2010 election.
All right, indeed. Thank you, John Harwood. So let's dig in on this. Are we living in fed-up nation? One of the great historical disconnects between what Washington is producing and what the rest of the country is not buying, and what's it mean for your money? So let's bring in Andy Bush, public policy strategist, BMO Capital Markets, Greg Valliere, chief political strategist, Potomac Research Group, both our CNBC contributors, and our own great original Tea Party creator, CNBC's Rick Santelli. Rick Santelli, let me begin with you, because this Tea Party thing has really picked up momentum. It has become a page-one story. Is it, in fact, the most powerful political force today saying, we are fed up, we don't want this overspending and overtaxing, and we want change in Washington? How strong is it? How powerful is it, Rick?
I think it's very powerful, and I don't know that it needs to be powerful from the standpoint of trying to turn it into a political party. I don't even think it needs a leader. All it needs is a voting booth, and I think that there's a large swath of the population out there that is fed up, and we're going to continue to see them exert pressure to reaffirm some of the individual liberties and abilities of private enterprise not to be overrun by the government, even during a recession. And I think it's going to pick up steam and be a huge force in November.
Is it getting through in Washington, Greg? What do you think? I mean, are we going to see any sort of policies change as a result? Are we going to continue to see gridlock? I mean, is that what maybe Tea Partiers want to see, is maybe nothing happen as opposed to so much taxing and spending? What do you think?
Well, Washington's scared to death, the Democrats in particular. So I think what you're going to get, Melissa, is more gridlock. Now, for the markets, I guess not getting the Obama agenda is a positive, but I'm not sure gridlock is a positive. If we can't deal with a deficit, if we can't do anything on financial services reform, I'm not sure gridlock is uniformly good for the markets.
Well, Andy Bush, I'm hearing from a lot of market investors, though, after this gigantic stimulus bill and the government attempt to take over the healthcare sector and cap and trade, that gridlock is a good thing, at least, Andy, until Congress turns over in the November elections.
Well, I mean, there's two sides to this. You know, the first thing I would point out is that we actually had some bipartisan work done together. The tax extender bill that Baucus and Grassley had put together was a very good thing, and that would have helped businesses and create certainty for 2010. But Harry Reid just blew it up, so we don't know if that's going to get voted on. So as far as this gridlock goes, You're right, Larry. Addressing the deficit, addressing any additional stimulus measures, that won't happen until we actually see a changeover in the midterms where we're going to get a balanced Senate. And it really doesn't matter whether it's 51 to 49 Democrats or Republicans. Now, the opposition party has to be brought into the negotiations for legislation as opposed to getting shut out like in health care or cap and trade or financial regulatory reform. That's the key. We've got to get certainty, and I believe that's not going to happen till after the election. That means from about mid-July on, things are going to look ugly for the equity markets.
But let's get down to brass tacks. I mean, what do you do about it if you're at home and you are fed up? How do you play this? I mean, do you think that the spending is going to continue, the taxing is going to continue from here? We've already spent so much money. Maybe you think inflation's on the way, so you buy tip spreads. I mean, what can you possibly do about it? What do you think? Rick Santelli, what do you think?
Well, I think that you need to buy things that are difficult to get because you can't obtain credit, for example. I think maybe even housing and property in the near future might be a good investment. You have to buy fixed income instruments that you're willing to hold to maturity. And you also need to be patient because there's a good chance interest rates may go up. So if you're a senior citizen getting virtually nothing in CDs or money markets, be patient. You're going to have a better day in the sun not that many months down the road.
But Rick Santelli, let me just follow up quickly on this because there's so much misinformation. The mainstream media, liberal left that it is, has been attacking the Tea Party movement. When you look at their proposals, particularly the so-called contract from America that they are putting together, what strikes me, Rick, is the Reaganist overtones, lower taxes, lower spending, more economic freedom. My question to you is, aren't the Tea Partiers really pro-investor class? Don't they want better investment and economic growth?
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I think it's